This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of January 7th, 2024. Happy New Year. Content authenticity statement: 100% of this week's newsletter was generated by me, the human. When I use AI, I will disclose it prominently. There's a link at the top of the newsletter that explains why this kind of disclosure is important. Very soon, it will be mandatory. Very soon, it will be required by law, at least in some parts of the world. Now, let's talk about what's on my mind this week. Should you buy a custom GPT? Let's talk more about custom GPTs this week because something big is coming this week. The ability for custom GPT authors to sell access to their custom GPTs on the OpenAI store. We got this lovely email this week. If you haven't been following along, a custom GPT is a service from OpenAI that allows paying ChatGPT users, people who pay the $20 a month, to create a customized version of ChatGPT. These customized versions contain three major types of functionality that allow for fairly extensive, mostly non-technical customizations. Custom instructions, knowledge, and actions. So custom instructions are system prompts that run behind the scenes in a custom GPT. The person who's authoring them writes these really long they can be really long instructions. They define what a custom GPT is supposed to do, what rules it should follow, what it shouldn't do, what outputs it has, etc. These instructions can be extensive, several pages long. Several of the custom GPTs I've built for myself, many pages of instructions. Number two, knowledge is a form of retrieval augmented generation, which we've talked about in the past. It's a technique for increasing what ChatGPT knows about, especially for information that hasn't been seen before, either because it hasn't been crawled yet or because it's not public information. A custom GPT can have up to 20 different databases in a variety of file formats, such as CSV files, spreadsheets, JSON files, Excel spreadsheets, plain text documents, PDFs, etc. Basically, if ChatGPT can read it, a custom GPT can have it in its knowledge base. These knowledge databases give additional context to the custom GPT. For example, you could upload a book that you wrote, right? And a custom GPT would be able to reference this book when it's answering questions. The third type of customization is actions. These allow a custom GPT to call out to an API, a third-party API, based on the conversation. For example, if you enabled a weather action and then had a conversation with the custom GPT asking about the weather, like, hey, is it going to snow tomorrow? Yes, it is. It would call whatever API you provided and return the weather results. If you've used ChatGPT plugins, that's exactly the same functionality. It is vitally important to note that when an action is triggered, a part of your conversation with the custom GPT is sent to a third-party provider of some kind, whether it's that author's company and their API, a third-party API like weather.com, whatever. Part of your conversation is going somewhere else. In the newsletter, I've got a screen grab of a custom GPT that I built so you can see these different pieces in the construction, the configuration of how these things work. Custom instructions, knowledge, and actions. Now, when you interact with a custom GPT, it behaves like regular ChatGPT, and it may have different ChatGPT capabilities enabled. The three functions that are built in are web browsing, so they can a custom GPT can browse the web using Bing, image generation with the DALL-E image generator, and advanced data analysis using Code Interpreter, which is what it used to be called before they renamed it Advanced Data Analysis. These three capabilities are parsed internally within the ChatGPT application itself. So neither the ChatGPT, the custom GPT creator, nor you, the user, has to tell the custom GPT, hey, use this to go browse the web, make an image of this. It just knows from the conversation context. So that's more or less what's inside the box of any custom GPT. Why would you want to buy one of these things? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First, a custom GPT may have knowledge that simply isn't available elsewhere or is curated in such a way that it'd be more time and labor intensive to recreate it yourself than just to simply buy it from somebody. And we don't know what the pricing looks like yet. That's not available to creators yet, but I would imagine it's probably not going to be, outlandish. It's not going to be like you can buy access to it for like tens of thousands of dollars. It's probably going to be like any other app store. But the custom GPT might have custom knowledge in it, and that might be worth buying. Second, a custom GPT may perform tasks in a way that are better than what you can develop on your own. Right? A custom GPT programmed with the latest in advanced prompt engineering techniques like priming representations and tree of thought may outperform what your prompts can do, making it a better use of your time to simply use a custom GPT rather than doing it yourself. So that leaves one big question we need to answer. How do you know what to buy? There will be, on the day this is open, I promise you this, there will be no shortage of people selling access to their custom GPTs, and you can expect a significant amount of redundancy in them. Your LinkedIn feed on that day is going to be all custom GPTs. Hey, check out my custom GPT for how to wax your car, whatever. You're going to see a lot of this. There will be dozens, if not hundreds, of marketing and content creation custom GPTs, each claiming to do wondrous things that ChatGPT can't, which is inherently untrue since it's literally based on ChatGPT. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of this. You're going to hear a lot of this. Every influencer that you know is going to be hawking their custom GPT. So let's talk about how you would evaluate a custom GPT as to whether or not you should buy it, or how to tell the difference between one and the next to decide which one is better. There are 5 considerations I'm looking for that you might want to look for too, and unsurprising to anyone who's been tuned in for a little while, they mirror the Trust Insights 5P framework: purpose, people, process, platform, and performance. So first, purpose. Does the custom GPT that you're evaluating specifically align with your purpose in such a way that it's worth your money instead of just building it yourself, right? This is really critical. Like any software purchase, you got to do requirements gathering to ascertain what's important and what isn't. And if your requirements gathering, for example, shows you're looking to write blogs in a specific way, there's a good chance you could build your own custom GPT instead of buying one. So you've got to be real clear about your requirements. If your requirements gathering showed that you want to write blog posts exactly matching a specific author's style, like me or Chris Brogan or Amber Naslund or any of these folks, and that author has their own specific custom GPT for that purpose, then the ethical thing to do would be buy the author's custom GPT. Second, people. Who made the custom GPT? Are they trustworthy? As I showed you just now, there are at least 2 obvious ways data can leak from a custom GPT. One is marked on the screenshot in position 5. A custom GPT author who allows a custom GPT's data to leak to OpenAI will inherently be sharing your conversation with OpenAI, right? That little checkbox at the bottom, share this data with OpenAI, that's checked by default. And if the custom GPT author doesn't know to open that little menu up and uncheck that, then the default will be to be sharing data with OpenAI. The second is in actions. Remember the actions calls. Anytime a custom GPT is sending out data to a third-party API, that's data going somewhere else, right? OpenAI doesn't have it. It might be the Weather Channel, or it might be Morningstar, or it might be an author's custom server, right? There's no governance on that. OpenAI does not require anything other than a privacy policy for that kind of data export. So anytime that custom GPT is sending out data, we don't know where it's going, and you can't see inside it to know that. Where the data goes is important, so using custom GPTs is made by trustworthy people and companies. That's a vital box to check. Third, process. How was the custom GPT made? What processes were used in its creation? This is all about asking what ingredients are inside the custom GPT, like a nutrition label, right, on a food product. Right? Yeah. You got your little nutrition label there. The best custom GPTs will disclose what's in the box. What were they made of? How were they made? Ideally, you would get a screenshot of the configuration screen, like the one in the newsletter, so that doesn't give away the secret sauce of how it's made, but you can at least see how it's wired and things like the privacy box being unchecked. Equally important, this is software. How will it be maintained? How will it be debugged? How will the custom GPT author handle feedback? Part of the reason to even buy a custom GPT rather than build your own should be the task of maintaining it, right? How fresh is the knowledge? How frequently will the knowledge be refreshed? What APIs does it connect to? How tuned in is the creator so that when OpenAI changes the underlying model, the custom GPT seller can provide evidence that they've tested it to show the software will continue to work as intended. Here's a key ethical question, legal and ethical. Disclosure, I'm not a lawyer. Does a custom GPT use data that the creator has a right to use? It is trivial to download a book written by someone else and put it in a custom GPT, right? That custom GPT then has an expanded context based on that book. Now, it will soon be illegal to do that in the EU, right? Because the EU AI Act says that it's illegal to use copyrighted data without permission. And ethically, it's pretty clear that using someone else's data without their permission doesn't feel great. So if I built a custom GPT, I use my book in it, cool. Allowed. This is my book. I'm allowed to do that. If I built a custom GPT and behind the scenes I put in Anne's book, not cool. Illegal in the EU soon. Not illegal right now. Unethical? 100%. Cool? Definitely not. Part of what a custom GPT owner has to do is prove that they're not doing this, right? That they're not using stuff they don't have rights to. Think about it. If your own work were being incorporated and sold, right, making money and sold by someone else with you receiving no benefit, you'd probably not be real happy. By the way, this is the primary argument against generative AI as a whole. So this is part of that third P, process, evaluating what's in the box, what works are part of a custom GPT in its knowledge. You definitely do not want to be financially supporting an author who is using other people's works without permission or compensation. And if a custom GPT is using those works with their permission, that should obviously be disclosed in the ingredients, right? This, by the way, if you are a custom GPT author, this will require you, the maker, to understand copyright law in your jurisdiction. Fourth, platform. As mentioned above, data can leak out of custom GPTs. Prompt jailbreaks can force language models to spit up source information, stuff from that they've been trained on. A key question to ask of a custom GPT maker is how much red teaming, the process of trying to break into your own software, was done. How well tested was it? You know, when you buy an electrical appliance, right, it's customary to look for the little underwriter's laboratory certification that certifies it's probably not going to randomly burst into flames, right? When you buy a food that's certified, halal, you know that the processor has been inspected and tested to make sure they're compliant. There is no standard for that, no equivalent standard for that yet in AI, though there's a lot of efforts to come up with something. But at the very least, a software vendor, because that's what a custom GPT author is, should be able to provide documentation about how they tested their software. Equally important, a custom GPT author should be precise in explaining how your data is being used. Are there actions that use your data? If so, how is that data handled? OpenAI requires the absolute bare minimum from builders, the privacy policy with a working URL. Even if that privacy policy says, hey, I'm taking all your data, right? That's okay as long as you've disclosed it. But that's it. There's no other rules. So the best custom GPTs will be like the best food certifications with rigorous documentation about how they use third-party platforms and what's going on with your data. And any custom GPT author that is claiming that theirs is totally secure or unbiased, they're just lying, right? Because the underlying foundational model is still ChatGPT's GPT-4 family of models, and custom GPTs inherit all of the benefits and all of the flaws of the foundation that they're built on. Finally, the fifth P, performance. Does a custom GPT actually do what it says? Right? How would you know? The burden of proof is on the custom GPT builder themselves to provide information about how their custom GPT outperforms stock ChatGPT or a novice effort at building your own. Right? This can be as simple as side-by-side comparisons of outputs, so you can see the prompts and the outputs that make a custom GPT worth the money. You got to see the receipts. So if you're considering putting out one of your custom GPTs, if you are a custom GPT author, and you're going to put one of yours in the GPT store or even just share it publicly, be sure you've done your homework to provide your users with the 5 Ps that I've outlined. Doing so right now is a best practice. When the EU AI Act becomes law, Part of the above process will be mandatory, and any custom GPT author making money from their custom GPTs will absolutely have to comply with it no matter where you're located in the world, because there are no geographic restrictions on custom GPTs. Someone coming from the EU will have the same experience as someone coming from Rhode Island, right? Or Pretoria or Aalborg. There's no restrictions, and so you have to comply with the strictest law in the land, which as of right now will be the EU AI Act. If you are considering buying a custom GPT, take into account each of the 5 Ps and ask the provider, ask the maker for their documentation. If you've got 2 custom GPTs that purport to do the same thing and one of them lacks documentation, it should be pretty clear which one you should buy. Just like you wouldn't blindly eat a food that doesn't have a nutrition label, especially if you have allergies, right? Nor should you blindly trust someone else's AI-led software. And remember, they're all still built on ChatGPT, so the same rules apply to custom GPTs as with ChatGPT itself. Don't put data in it that you don't want other people to see. Will I be putting up any of my own custom GPTs? I have a couple of candidates I might put up for free in the GPT store just so I can see how the store functions, because apparently free to use custom GPTs will be an option. But I don't see myself making any for sale right away. I'd rather have you spend your money on the Generative AI for Marketers course, which you can get at trustinsights.ai/AI course. I think it'll give you more benefit. So, other things that happened this week in the news. Last week covered the 3 words and 4 enemies of 2024. If you didn't check that out, go check out that. Also this week, we're talking on the Trust Insights podcast and the live stream about where AI is going this year. Quick spoiler, more of everything. There's some really cool announcements that happened this past week, a couple of which, AutoRT from Google was showing how robots can autonomously learn now using language to vision models, which is pretty cool. And Facebook has this audio to 3D avatar tool, which you give it an audio track and it creates photorealistic people having the conversation of the audio you've uploaded, which is pretty mind-bending to watch that demo. So lots of really cool stuff happening right now. Let's check what's happening in jobs. Amazon PPC Manager, True Hero. Cell Therapy Marketing Director at Kelly. Digital Design Director at Robot Proof. Digital Sales Manager at Primary Services. Director of Digital Success at Best Version Media. Director of Marketing at Axo Solutions. Director of Search at 10 Golden Rules. That's my old pal Jay Berkowitz's company. Manager of Employment Marketing at Ventura Foods. Marketing Strategy Manager at Sustainable Generation. Marketing Manager at Digio. Marketing Manager at GGWP. Marketing Strategist at Alchemy Works. Senior ABM Demand Gen Marketing Manager at Journey. That's a mouthful. And Senior Integrated Growth Strategist at CRO Metrics. So lots of hiring. I think hiring is at least leveling off last I looked. So be aware of that. What else happened this week? We have TikTok planning to boost its in-stream commerce spend by 10x. How Gen Z uses AI content detection, zero-click content, and SEO trends this coming year. The rise of generative AI in design. Does ChatGPT know your company? We have a hands-on guide to Librosa, which is a Python library for handling Python audio files. A Disney cruise ship performing a New Year's Eve rescue, and a few other things. So lots of stuff in the news. One thing on the COVID front, we are in the second largest COVID wave, according to wastewater data, of the entire pandemic. So be sure that you are taking appropriate precautions to keep yourself safe. Upcoming events have the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta in Edmonton in February, Social Media Marketing World in San Diego in February, the Marketing Process AI series in March, the Australian Food and Grocery Council in Melbourne in May, and MACON, the Marketing AI Conference in Cleveland in September. And there's a couple more things coming for the list as well. So lots to keep aware of in terms of events. That's going to do it for this week's newsletter. I'm going to have an announcement coming out at some point relatively soon about a new show. I just have to put the finishing touches on it. It will have nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with AI. It will be about water quality. So look for that in the next week or two. Again, make sure that you are, if you can, take the generative AI course. I've got an update coming this month for, using a certain strategy to make sure that you are in language models as much as possible. So you want to check that out. If you are already a registered member of the course, you'll get an email when the course gets updated. And I'm currently plotting out an advanced prompt engineering class as a standalone for that, which I'll have some news about that probably before the end of the first quarter. So thanks for tuning in. As always, appreciate your time and attention. I'll talk to you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you want to know when new videos are available, hit the bell button to be notified as soon as new content is live.